Hi guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Dan and I'm hoping that you will enjoy this content today because I wanted to share a watch which isn't just your average kind of watch. Obviously you saw the thumbnail and see it's quite an unusual piece. What's it all about? I mean, that's kind of my thoughts initially when I first saw pictures of this watch on Instagram. And I've heard of Mr. Jones watches before, and that's what really sparked my interest again, was seeing this watch. And I got in touch with Mr. Jones watches and did a lot more research about them, and I fell in love with the company and this watch in particular. And I had to share it with you guys because there's a little bit more to know other than just this piece. I would urge you just to go and check out their website just to see there's an eclectic mix of interest there. I mean, it's a British company, a very small one. All the watches are hand assembled. Lots of elements of the watch. There's some interesting elements, the way they're printing the dials, and there's different designers involved. They also sell vintage watches. What a lovely mix of things. And I think it's worth sharing this piece with you, see what you think. So let's get first of all involved with the stats and the specs. I don't normally show packaging because basically I find it boring, but I had to show you this. It's absolutely beautiful the way this is presented. So £175 watch from Mr. Jones Watches. Thanks so much for sending this to me, guys. This is something I don't have to send back. I'm not paid other than just keeping the watch, really. They've not told me what to say. They're so laid back and they obviously want to support a watch channel. So thank you, Mr. Jones Watches, for your support. Look at this. This is the main thing, which I thought was so cool. Took it out of its main box, and then we've got all this beautiful artwork on here, and you can see the case back of the watch through there. And I just thought that was just so interesting. You don't see that very often. And then, as you can see, it's visible through there still. Open this really beautiful little box. And this is less than £200 watch. I mean, it gives me some perspective. And that kind of crap you get in some other watches. And explains probably why I'm generally bored of them, because they're generally crap. This is just... It's obviously quite simple, but it's just beautifully executed, really nice, with lots of information about how to care for your watch, all the information you need to know. But it's also about the artist and sort of the concept behind the dial design. So that is part of what you're buying into, but I'll go into more detail about that later on. Sort of why this is more than just what you're looking at. It makes you think a bit, and that's what this is all about. It's just having something to think about. So I've weighed this on Gipas, my trusty weighing assistant. If you've never met Gipas before, check out my older content. I don't get him out too often now. He's getting a bit shy. I think I think the fame's getting to his head a bit. The 64-gram weight that he told me is pretty standard for a quartz watch. Dimensions, it's only a 37.4mm case, so it's a lovely, good, they call it a unisex size, which means it's going to work really well for most people. Lug to lug is short as well, again aiding the comfort and the wearability. 46.8, 18mm lug width for easy strap change. This has quick release Milanese mesh, and the height is quite chunky at 11.2, but that includes sort of the little bit of a dome on there. And guess what that's sapphire crystal, and it's purposely had a single dome, so it adds that ability to give you that beautiful reflective property. Outer element, which is the seconds disc, they hide the sort of the pinion by having the hat, if you will, of the person that's floating on this rubber ring in the pool. So the leg is the hour hand, so that's easy to tell. It's nearly 6 o'clock in the evening, and here we're approaching 10:02 because we've got the rubber duck that goes around. I'll show you. I'll put so as you can see, how cool is that? It's just amazing. It's a lot easier to read than you think, and obviously the tiles of this little round pool, each line and each sort of separation of each tile is the hour markers. It's surprisingly easy to read. This isn't a dress watch, so it does have a bit of water resistance. So we're talking about 50 meters water resist. The case is great for getting wet. It's not some plated bit of rubbish. It's proper 316L stainless steel, all polished. And on the back, we've got the decoration describing to you that this is called A Perfectly Useless Afternoon. Designer, Christophe Devos, and he's from Belgium. And it was made here in London. And the dial, the elements that are made here as well, it's so clever. It's each disc carefully printed, and the mesh is 316L stainless steel as well. No taper on these Milanese mesh, and you just get a lovely signed part there as well. MJW, very smart, and it wears so comfortably. Let's get this on wrist and I'll show you that. This being a light watch with a really thin breathable mesh strap as well is so nice for a summer holiday, summer day, light weather. It's really good fun seasonal type of piece, and that's way I would judge this, definitely. But to be honest with you, I'm not 100% on this bracelet. And so just to complete the stats and specs section, we've basically got single dual Japanese movement in there. So it's quartz, so pretty standard, straightforward. It's going to be reliable and accurate, and that helps keep the price down. But Mr. Jones watches, they do mechanical pieces as well. So now you've got a better understanding of what you get for your money. You've got the objective side of things, but now we're going to get into some analysis, because analysis is what can sort of open some doors of the imagination. So let's do that. The analysis of this kind of pieces, what does it make you feel? I mean, objectively, you understand, you've seen and heard what you get for your money, but what are you getting in terms of character? That is something you can't actually quantify financially, because it's down to personal taste. But I adore this, because during these times, I'm really missing having a holiday and some time to unwind without getting too deep and personal. What is lovely with a hobby like this, with watch collecting or just watches in general, is every time you check the time, sometimes it is a functional piece, and for many people it is. And we like to, as watch fanatics and watch lovers, like to incorporate a little bit of something that gives it a dimension of fun. Nothing better for me than chilling out by the pool or on the pool with my family, relaxing, soaking the sun in, doing absolutely nothing. And that's where Perfectly Useless comes in. And that's what inspired this idea, the whole time to think, to relax. Life is short. Take it all in. Take some time to do absolutely nothing and have a perfectly useless afternoon. And that concept is what I just fell in love with. And I just think it's magical that you can get something that is so powerfully replicates that with a design, a moving piece of art. And that is what I think is so fun. And still got to rein it in a bit and not get too deep and excited about this, because you're going to want to know what kind of things would I criticize about it. It's not a promotional video, because I've not been paid to do that. I've not been asked to do that. I'm speaking passionately about it, because I do have a lot of passion for this kind of concept of something that has had so much thought and creativity put into it. Personally, there are elements of reviewing AliExpress watches which it ends up, being honest with you, if you've watched my channel a while, I've reviewed a lot of them, they end up getting crushingly boring. And I'll be honest with you about that, because you know why? Paying homage to something and not actually homaging to a level of depth that is different to almost being a clone is getting boring. This is interesting. The fit and finish is okay. It's not spectacular, and obviously this polished bottom case back is just, look how easy it's to scratch. I mean, I'm careful with my watches. It's just what happens when you wear a watch. Just get little bits of dust and dirt and anything under your watch when you're wearing it. It acts as a sandpaper against that beautiful case back. It's just a little bit lumpy here. It's not great on this lug here. These lugs, I don't like how thin they are. I think they could be a little bit more intricate design, or chunkier, sorry, and maybe conform and slope down a bit more. But the mid case is really interesting. It's just sort of, the lugs form part of the mid case with that design. As you can see, they flow around. And then we've got on the other side, we've got a sort of pretend crown with the MJW logo on there. And then almost the same size, as you can see, to replicate that is the usable crown. Would have been nice if that had a logo on it as well. And it's very small. It's quite hard to use. Because it's quartz, it's kind of set and forget, isn't it? But I wish there were other maybe alternatives to the movement, rather than just a very basic quartz, again, at this price point. What I would have liked is if this was loomed. Imagine that tile was loomed, so it looked like at night, you know, when you go, oh, so cool, on holiday, and they light the pool up and it just looks like a magical, mystical pool with glowing. Cool if they could replicate that. Maybe some other loomed elements. I know they do. They've done it with an amazing planetary version with Mars and the two moons of Mars, Phoebus and Deimos, I think they're called. I really don't like this Milanese mesh. I think it just makes it look all far too much bling. So I'm going to show you some alternatives, which help soften this down a bit. So this is my first suggestion. If you don't want to get this kind of watch wet and you just want to have a quick changeover for the evening out, navy blue. This is Crazy Horse saddle leather, which is part of the range which you can get from my eBay store. Check it out. And then here, cracking value for money, only $9.99 on the store, is this Perlon. You know why Perlons are amazing, especially for summery watches, is they are breathable. You have almost infinite adjustment, because this bit pops through almost anywhere in the weave. It's water resistant, you can get it wet. And then finally, another royal blue, if you will, is the NATO. Trusty, perfect, easy to quickly slap on and change over strap. That's, again, great for summer months. So would I recommend Mr. Jones watches to you? I think if you're this way inclined of this kind of watch, you're going to adore so many of these pieces. If you've got in your collection tool watch, it's very practical, something very plain, something dressy. There's lots of interesting different blends of watch in your collection. This, for me, the reason why I would recommend it is, what better place to get something incredibly good value for what you get, something that's been hand assembled in the UK. It's got individual design and it just makes you feel happy. That's what it does for me, and that is why I would recommend this kind of watch. Obviously, it's quite a lot of money for quite a basic quartz watch. That's the main negative. And the bracelet isn't for me, but as you know, that's easy to swap out. And like I said before, the case designs are very minimal. It's all about the dial, really. If you can see through those eccentricities, you're going to be delighted with one of these kind of watches. But you know, that's the beauty of watching these kind of reviews and people like me analysing them. It's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Really like to read your comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.